I'm Bruce Renard. I'm the Executive Director of the National ATM Council, and I want to thank the conference organizers here, Callie, and the whole team that's put this conference together. Really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you. As Chester mentioned, I'm an attorney and a consultant, and I've been fooling with issues involving telecommunications and now the financial services industry for the last 40 years. And I got to go through the technology change in telecom, as was mentioned. I've been involved in the telecom space back when we had a consolidated Bell system, and I actually was involved in breaking up AT&T. Some think that was good, some not, but I think overall it's ushered in the current telecom world we see now with voice data and video all coming together in one place. And we've seen that coming for a long time. And, and now we're seeing that invade the payment space. And so I got into the payments world really as the payphone industry declined in the face of mobile phone service. We found that a lot of the payphone providers in the country began to provide ATM services. It's kind of a natural evolution for them. And so through that, I got involved in the ATM space, and we actually took an organization that was the Alliance of Specialized Communications Providers that represented public communications, correctional communications, airvac services, ATMs, et cetera. And that association ultimately became what is now the National ATM Council back in 2011. And the ATM industry is a pretty interesting industry to be in today. It's huge at this point. It's one of those silent utilities that people don't really think about. We just, same way we turn the water on, water comes out, turn the lights on, lights come out. We need cash, there's an ATM around. Well, there's a lot of ATMs in America right now. We have 470,000 or so out there. Most people don't realize, though, that the majority are owned by non-bank entities, entrepreneurs just like yourself. And they account now for just about 60% of all the ATMs out there. And 2/3 of our ATMs in this country are in retail locations. So most of the ATMs there are not at the bank. Providers of the ATMs, there are 200 to 300 ATM ISOs in the country right now, to our best knowledge. These figures are difficult to get, to be honest with you. It's we actually did a study last year to get the number of ATMs in the country and the breakout between bank and non-bank ATMs. There was really no good study of that. We commissioned one, and these numbers come from that study, and I can provide you a copy of it if you'd like. You can see there's billions of dollars flowing through ATMs in America. It's, again, this kind of silent backbone of our consumer-based spending economy. But as with any technology business, it's changing. Every ATM has a connection, a data connection to it. More and more they're wireless, but every ATM, has a communications connection to it. It's a computer itself, and it's very complex, and it holds money, a lot of money in there. So you've got a box of cash out there in the public that has a lot of technology to it, that has a communications link to it, and it's a pretty complex thing. At the same time, the technology has moved to the point now where most people like yourselves can operate an ATM. From a user operator standpoint, it's gotten a lot more manageable. You don't have to be a total tech wizard to deal with it. So what are some of the trends happening with the ATM? Is the ATM destined just to be a cash machine, or can it do more? That's kind of the $1 million question now. In other countries, ATMs do a lot more than they do here in the U.S. But today, most ATMs in the U.S. just dispense cash. If you look at a recent survey here, you can see that the most forward-looking use of these terminals is to deploy solutions that integrate mobile banking and marketing with the self-service channel. So what we're seeing now is a breakdown of the barrier between bank and non-bank ATMs. It used to be a pretty clear line, but more and more now banks are outsourcing their ATMs totally to third parties. There's a thing called bank branding, so you may see an ATM that looks like it's a bank ATM, branded as a bank ATM, but it's actually provided by an independent entrepreneurial provider who's doing that for the bank. There are ATMs out there that are select a branch ATMs based on the card you put in. It'll give you a look and feel as if it were your bank's ATM, and it can do that for multiple multiple banks. So, you look at these different opportunities from the ATM, advanced self-service solutions, bill payment, check cashing. There's a split in the industry. Some think just have the ATM do what it does and don't, interfere with that basic functionality. If you want to do some of this other stuff, you can have another standalone terminal and don't cannibalize your existing ATM transactions. Others feel that it can be integrated into the ATM itself to go beyond just a cash dispenser. We are beginning for the first time to see independent ATMs to take deposits as well. So there definitely is a change in the market. The manufacturers traditionally that have done the retail side are moving into the bank side and vice versa. So Diebold and NCR, which traditionally did only the bank stuff, now more and more you're seeing them deployed by independents. And Hyosung, Genmega, and Triton now more and more you're seeing with bank deployments. So what are some of the things people want to see at the ATM? You can see number one there is bill payment. I think there's a real opportunity out there for you in providing bill payment capabilities at retail. Everything's going digital, and where we can go digital and where we can go employee-less, business is going to do that. But I think one of the things we'll see at this conference is there still is a set of things out there in business that you have to go to. If you want to go to a restaurant, guess what? You're going to get in your car and go to the restaurant. You're not doing that digitally. I mean, yes, you can, order, delivery more so now, food from wherever you want. But if you want the restaurant experience or the bar experience, you're going there. And I think it's important to begin to see and think about what retail really is going to survive. What are the types of retail that people will always want to go to and be there? And what are the kinds that are going to go away? And we're seeing some of that happening now. Bill payment, TIO had an application. We had some clients and members who did bill payment. I had folks, who had 2 or 3 TIO bill payment terminals at locations in addition to their ATMs. And then TIO was purchased by PayPal, and then PayPal closed the door on TIO like 4 months after they did this huge acquisition. And they've never resurfaced. And I've been looking for good bill payment solutions ever since, to be honest with you, both bill payment and check cashing. So those are, there are opportunities, there are nuts to be cracked there that have not been cracked yet. Let's talk for a minute about the brave new world of the crypto ATM. That's the newest thing. We have our conference in October. We'll have, half a dozen crypto ATM companies exhibiting and presenting at the show. This is a thing. People don't realize it, but there are thousands of ATMs today where you can buy or sell Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency at the ATM. Here are some of the companies doing it now. It's just starting. As you can see, it's not in the hundreds of thousands or even tens of thousands, but it is in the thousands and growing rapidly. Surprising in some of the stories you hear about people driving to some distances to get to that Bitcoin ATM. Retirees who who aren't comfortable in getting Bitcoin or getting into crypto in the traditional way are comfortable in using these terminals. So new opportunity, something worth looking at. Let's talk a little about the underlying issue here in terms of cash and the future of cash with as we're in this emerging digital environment. So the Fed does this study regularly. I don't see Dave Lott in here. I know we have some folks from the Fed who'll be with us, but they do this what they call diary, consumer diary, to see where things are headed with cash. And you can see cash is still very strong, very, very much solid payment methodology. While we're seeing growth clearly in digital payments, we're seeing cash remaining strong. So, the old saying of, the stories of my death are, greatly over-exaggerated. That's true of cash. Cash is still king in many respects, especially when it comes to smaller transactions. I'm not going to go through all these. I can give you these slides if you'd like. I'll be happy to send you the deck. But you can get a feel for the movement that's happening as digital payments grow and people begin to get more and more comfortable with them. But there's also still a very strong cash usage in our country, especially. Sorry, looks a little cut off there, but you can see for $0 to $10 transactions, more than half of those are done in cash. And as you move up in the pricing of transactions, the cash is less and less, but it's still a huge part of our payments system. I'm not going to get into it here, but we are going to have a panel at the end of the show where we'll talk a little bit about what's emerging now in the way of cash discount programs. And Chester alluded to that as well in terms of charging a convenience fee as a way to recover your merchant fees when people are paying you with credit cards or debit cards. And so, interestingly, millennials still love cash. It's like debit cards that are number one and cash is number two. Most people I know who, use their debit or credit card constantly or their phone banking app now, they all have cash. And you want cash, obviously, because some businesses, will give you a break on cash. Some businesses only accept cash. When you want to give somebody a tip, $5 tip, it's quick and easy. Very interesting. Just today I read a new study done by the German central bank in Germany, found that cash transactions are the fastest transaction. They're quicker than a credit card or debit card transaction, and they're the least costly. So if consumers and merchants are looking for the fastest, least costly mode of payment, cash is still it, amazingly. But having said that, the phone, the phone is not going away. Your phone is definitely on the road to taking over everything, as it has been. But even in the world of digital and phone-based payments, there's still a place for cash. This is looking at folks who prefer cash. Obviously, lots. The more you prefer cash, the more you're using it. But even debit and credit card folks, still 10% of their transactions are happening in cash. So what are we doing in the ATM space to kind of integrate and mesh with this move to digital? We've created a working group within our association to look at introducing biometrics and standardizing cardless cash applications at the ATM. So this, in our view, it's not an either-or situation, cash or debit or credit. We need it to work together. We need a world, and we're in a transition where we can have cash and we can have digital and we can get from one to the other easily. And we hopefully don't disenfranchise anyone during this transition period. So, card not present transactions, which was mentioned before, when it comes to the ATM, it's a little different. Traditionally, card not present transactions are internet-based transactions. It's a remote transaction. The customer is not there. And of course, that's where the fraud has moved. As we've introduced EMV into the card space, well, now, do your thing on the internet and you don't have to worry about EMV, right? Because there's no card. What we're looking at, though, is the ability to use your phone at the ATM. So card not present, yes, you don't have your card in the traditional sense. That plastic card is not in your wallet, right? But your digital card is in either your banking app or in some other app if you don't have a bank account. And, and that's kind of your card. It's virtually present. And so as we've dug into this, we're basically in the process of creating a new transaction type that is not card present or card not present. It's basically mobile, interactive, transaction-based messaging. And so we, in the ATM space, the industry, and especially on the banking side of the industry, is looking at NFC, near field communications, as the way to interact with your phone or with the new round of cards that are about to be issued that are radio, have a radio frequency capability, communication capability in them. And those cards and your phone will interact with an NFC reader on, typically today, Bank of America, Wells, or Chase, and those type of financial institutions, ATMs. Those companies, though, those banks develop their systems in a silo. They're not interoperable. Each one did their own thing. And so we've been working in the U.S. Payments Forum, an industry-wide group to deal with this stuff, to try to come up with an interoperable framework for NFC at the ATM so that you can walk up with your phone or your card and, in that case, tap the ATM. With NFC, your card or your phone has to be 4 to 6 centimeters away from the terminal. So that's how you do it. And you're starting to see that spot on many of these bank terminals today. You're starting to see it just now on the gas pumps as well. The gas pumps were given a longer time to go to EMV, and so they're implementing EMV for the most part now with NFC in it. However, the ATM base, the 60% of these ATMs out there, although they are for the most part now EMV ready, they are not NFC ready. And the thought of having to go back out and redo that base is not very appetizing. So we have looked at developing a software-based capability for the phone to interact with ATMs, and we formed a working group within NAC, the National ATM Council, to develop standards for your phone to work with the ATM. And we're working with all the manufacturers, processors, networks, to try to develop the system as an alternative to NFC. It'll be a QR code-based system, and basically you can pre-stage a transaction, walk up to the ATM, and with your phone get money out. But as we realized as we've gone into this process, we've realized that we need to also introduce biometric authentication into the process. As part of this virtual card not present, we need to up our game on making sure it's you at the ATM taking this money out. Okay. Up to now, it's all been PIN based. Any ATM transaction has to have a PIN in the U.S. today, but a PIN is compromisable, very compromisable in the same way skimming has skimmed card data. They can skim your PIN also, and I've had it happen to me. So what we're doing is trying to come up with, we are coming up with standards to implement biometric authentication either on your phone or in a combination of the phone and network-based biometric authentication. We're looking to try to make this, universal deployment with a common user experience. There are a number of these cardless cash transactions out there today, but they're not working well and they're not gaining good acceptance. So hopefully through our efforts, we'll have a framework here where this can actually take off. And at the same time, what we're doing is implementing a software-based modality in the ATM, moving away from just having to upgrade hardware all the time to let the ATMs do their thing on a software basis. So for the pre-stage transaction, this is how it will work. We're going to demo these at our conference in October, and so you can come and see it happen. And here you pre-stage your transaction, you pick your phone from a locator. If you don't know exactly your ATM terminal from a locator, if you don't know exactly which terminal you're going to, you're biometrically authenticated as part of this. You walk up to the terminal, there'll be a QR code on the screen that you scan with your phone. It will literally, biometrically authenticate you. It will position you and your phone at that ATM. So there are all kind of layers of security and authentication that go along with this. And then it'll spit your money out. So you can literally just drive up to the ATM in your car and do your thing, take the photo, and it'll spit the money out. We think it's better actually than NFC, where you have to stick your arm out with your phone and tap it, or your card and physically tap the thing. With this approach, it's through the cloud and you don't have to do that. So you can also walk up to the machine with this new capability as well if you don't pre-stage it. The point is you can do a transaction without having to have your card. You can interact with the ATM through your phone, and that's how it's going to be. We're celebrating the 50th year of the first ATM in America, which was September 2nd of '69, 50 years since the first ATM went in the States here, and we're going to be celebrating that at our conference in October, and you're all invited and welcome to join us there. We're going to offer a special for any first-time attendees who are MPC attendees here, and we're going to make available our customer sponsor special rate for you. So for a really great deal, if you want to spend a couple of days in Vegas and learn even more about the ATM industry, we'd love to have you. Thank you so much, and appreciate your attention, and look forward to being with you at the conference here. Thank you.